What's up? Welcome and thank you for tuning back in to the Skol State of Mind podcast. It's that time of the week, so we're gonna dive into the Vikings versus Browns game day preview. First off, let me let you guys know what to expect from this video. We're gonna dive into the injuries concerning the Minnesota Vikings. We're gonna talk about the defensive side of the ball, what they can do to kind of right the ship. We're gonna talk about the offense, especially considering all the injuries from the offensive line. I'm going to give you, some other things in between. And also in closing, let you know what I think about it going forward. So with that being said, let's dive into the injuries first. All right, Pete. So the Minnesota Vikings have been hit with a rash of injuries, and it seems like it's coming all at one time. It's crazy because it's like every time somebody comes off the injury report, plays a couple of games, it seems like more players go right back on the injury report. And y'all already know how I feel about injuries. It's part of the NFL, it's part of the game. It takes great coaching to kind of adjust and like mask it. But sometimes when injuries become so much, it's kind of hard for coaching to actually, do anything. I mean, you're bringing in backups to back the backups, and it's just hard. It's a hard situation, and it's just tough because like I don't know what the Vikings can do to kind of like right the ship. Like you really can't blame anybody or conditioning or the coaching staff when players get hurt because players get hurt at random. I mean, shit. Last week, Brian O'Neill got hurt, on a fucking PAT on basically a field goal attempt. So it happens, and it can happen in any play, so it is what it is. But let's dive into it. So first off, we got Tyler Batty, knee injury, full participant on Wednesday and Thursday. That's good because considering that means they're open that 20-day window for him to actually practice and see if he can actually play in the game. It's going to be interesting to see if he actually plays, but you never know. Now, this is the big one here with Quinshon Jenkins, and there's nothing to be alarmed about because this is a non-injury related rest. He got 2 DNPs on Wednesday and Thursday. I would guess that he's probably going to ramp things up on Friday. But what I can see here, what the Vikings are basically doing is they're giving Jenkins time to recover after playing a full game to kind of see how that knee, responds, see if there's any swelling and not pushing so much. I can probably guarantee, throughout the season that we're going to see him practice more within the week once he gets, a lot more reps in and basically he gets the conditioning to where it needs to be playing, every game. But considering, he's just recently come off the injury report and, he had that horrific knee injury last year, it makes sense for him not to practice, throughout the week. Now, we got CJ Ham coming back, and you see the star there, the asterisk. He's coming back from a knee, and he's been a full participant, for Wednesday and Thursday. And just like I said with Tyler Batty, they're opening that 21-day window for them to get some practice in, for them to be activated on the 53-man roster. The thing with CJ Ham is like when he gets activated on the roster, I want to see who the Vikings are going to take off. So let's just talk about that. Now, Donovan Jackson, wrist, did not practice 2 days. That's warranted. I mean, you got to still have to put him on an injury report because he didn't go on short-term AR for the 4 weeks. So he's going to be on the injury report until he starts practicing, until he gets back. It was said that he's only going to be gone about 2 to 4 weeks, and we can probably look forward to him coming back after the bye week against the Philadelphia Eagles. Now, here's one that's a massive concern. You got Michael Jenkins, hamstring DNP on 2 days, Wednesday and Thursday. Michael Jenkins is the backup center. Now, if you look down here a little bit more, you will basically see that there's multiple. Where is he at? Hold on. Yeah, right below Michael Jenkins, you got Ryan Kelly right here, DNP. So basically, I don't know what the Vikings are going to do at center. With a hamstring injury, they nag. It takes a couple of weeks for you to be completely healthy. I don't know if the Vikings have to bring somebody in on Friday, or maybe they're talking to bringing somebody in right now to kind of like play center. But Vikings might be on their third string center. going into this game against the Cleveland Browns, because we don't know when Ryan Kelly is going to be back. And when Michael Jenkins not practicing, hey, it's getting tough. Now, JJ McCarthy is still battling his high ankle sprain, 2 days DNP. That's kind of warranted. Let's wait and see Friday, see if we can get some kind of limited status. Maybe, I hope so, because that will give us some kind of, green light that he's actually progressing in the right direction. Now you got Brian O'Neill with his knee. Now, if you don't know, Brian O'Neill has a MCL sprain, and he's going to be out maybe 2 to 4 weeks. Hopefully, he can be back after the bye also, but we don't know. Xavier Scott knee, just like a little bang up, nicks and bruises, but he was still a full participant. Dallas Turner had an illness DNP on Thursday. Now, depending on the illness, and we have to wait and see what's going on Friday. He'll probably be back on Friday if it's not a big illness. Now, Andrew Van Ginkel's neck is a big concern, but like I said in my last video, it's great that we have a luxury of having a young 22-year-old developing pass rusher that can step in for Andrew Van Ginkel. And I'm going to just be real, like, Dallas Turner has not made the flashiest plays, but he's been solid. I would say we're going to rest Van Ginkel until the bye, and it seems like a lot of these players are going to be coming back after the bye. Ben Urasek, knee, DNP. Hey, backup tight end, third string tight end. But these are the injuries as of, Thursday right now, for our Minnesota Vikings. So let's keep it moving. Let's dive into the offensive game plan. Now, I got my notes up here, and I just want to make sure that I talk about everything that I, scheduled to talk about. So here we go. Kevin O'Connell is basically coaching right now with his offensive line being held together by duct tape, right? We all know how that works, right? The NFL, you can't schedule injuries. It is what it is. And you can't have the same game plan that you develop during the off season for right now, considering when you're nursing a whole lot of injuries. And this week, Carson Wentz will be under center again in place of JJ McCarthy. And that means Kevin O'Connell has to adjust the game plan. That means he needs to establish the run early. And I'm going to say that again. You have to establish the run early. In this offense, I understand that Kevin O'Connell wants to consistently go down the field with the long developing plays. But as of right now, with the rickety offensive line, I don't think that's possible, especially when you're playing against a stout defense from the Cleveland Browns. I just feel like Kevin O'Connell has to adjust the game plan and lean on the run a whole lot more this game, just to kind of like keep our defense off the field and basically run the clock a little bit. Like, I understand it. Like, arguably, the Minnesota Vikings have the best 1-2 punch wide receiver duo in the NFL with Justin Jefferson and Jordan Addison. But if you continue to try to bomb the ball downfield, you're going to basically let the game just, go away from you. Establishing the run early is something the Vikings have to do. And we've been talking about it a lot. And I just think it's kind of redundant that we've been talking about why is there no quick game and why we can't get a lot of quick passes, shit like that. I think at this point within this part of the season, maybe it's best that the Vikings lean on the run, go into the bye, kind of rip some plays up and just go from there, and then maybe come back against the Philadelphia Eagles with some kind of different game plan that involves more quick game. We saw some quick passes from Carson Wentz last week, but he didn't play, as well, especially down the stretch. And I kind of felt like shit, the refs and the Pittsburgh Steelers were basically giving us a game to win, and Carson Wentz could not, complete a pass because he was getting bailed out a couple of times, man. And I just feel we can't do that, man. We got to be better on offense all the way through. And for a lot of people out there that's like more concerned about TJ Hawkinson and why he's not being, the pass catcher that he normally is and going down the field and having that middle of the field where you have to understand that TJ Hawkinson is basically helping the offensive line at this point, chipping, and then he's going out in coverage, and Carson Wentz is basically missing him. So let's keep it moving. Let's keep it moving. And this is the defensive side of the ball. Now, I'm gonna give you guys a trigger warning right now, and I gotta say this because I just really want to be honest with you guys. Like on this channel, I'll call it how I see it, right? And I don't pick sides. I don't basically come into this channel and just want to pick on one side of the ball or another. But I have problems with this defense, and coming into this season, I wanted the defense to kind of change a couple of things that we saw in the previous years, but I still seem like these problems on defense are starting to get worse. And now you got a new problem on this defense was basically we can't stop the run. I mean, if you take away the Bengals game where the defense had multiple turnovers and they scored twice, one on a interception return and then another on a fumble return, like the defense has been subpar at best. And I understand people out there will be like, oh, what about the EPA? What about all the defensive stats? Sometimes the stats don't actually match what you see on the field. And this is what I'm saying, like why it doesn't match what you see on the field, right? So let's just go back and let's just talk about the first game of the season with Chicago Bears. I saw Caleb Williams get what he wanted when he wanted it. And before the mighty comeback in the fourth quarter, the Browns basically had that game in a chokehold. Let's just be honest about that situation. In the Atlanta game, the defense and offense did not perform. They weren't playing complementary football, but the defense actually gave up over 200 yards rushing. All right, that's not good. You can't give up that many yards on the run, especially, from a team that really hasn't gotten their offense together, you know, at all. I mean, we're still waiting to see what Michael Penix is, but Atlanta Falcons came into Minnesota and ran the ball straight down our throat, 218 yards from both their running backs, right? So then you get to the Bengal game where it basically was a blowout. So we're not going to talk about that one right now. But let's go back to the Pittsburgh Steelers game. I mean, Jalen Warren was a scratch maybe an hour before the game, and Kenneth Gainwell started. And Kenneth Gainwell, I think he got over 160 yards from scrimmage. That's running and passing. That can't happen. Like that can't happen. And I'm just being honest about the situation. Like there's some things on this defense that needs to get fixed. A lot of people out there want to point out Ivan Pace and say, "Oh, Ivan Pace the problem," and we're playing a backup and Wilson, in the middle, and maybe things would be better with Blake Cashman. I just feel like we got to stop making excuses for this defense because I feel like, especially us as Viking fans, not me, like we continuously say that this defense is great. This defense is great. I would say the defense is solid. This defense is solid, and they got some things they need to work on. There's still, open zones in the middle of the field that are going to be able to be exploited. I mean, you saw what Aaron Rodgers did over the weekend. He basically neutralized this whole defensive line in the pass rush by basically getting the ball out. If the ball's out, you can't pass rush. And that might be the blueprint for teams to actually neutralize this Minnesota Vikings defense is to get the ball out fast, hit the zones in the middle of the field and go from there, and especially run the ball. I have to be honest with it, man. And it's no hate, it's no ill will, it's nothing personal about Brian Flores, but it's intriguing to see what's going to happen with these Cleveland Browns. I mean, yesterday we got the big news that Joe Flacco officially has been benched, and the Cleveland Browns are starting rookie Dylan Gabriel. Now, you got some people out there that's basically celebrating the fact that the Vikings will be playing a rookie quarterback, and statistics show that Brian Flores' defense gives young developing quarterbacks problems with all the disguises, all the different movement at the line, and that's cool and all. But I just want to be, honest when we talk about the situation. Like Dylan Gabriel, he's I feel like he's no slouch, right? And I feel like the similar game plan that Aaron Rodgers came with, over the weekend on Sunday, Dylan Gabriel can kind of emulate that same situation, get the ball out fast, hit the zones when they're available, and just take what the defense gives them and basically eat up the clock and drive down the field. Now you have to also throw in the factor that the Cleveland Browns have a young emerging rookie running back in Quinshon Jenkins. Yes, Quinshon Jenkins basically was gone the whole training camp. He actually signed late, but look at his last couple of games when he's actually getting more consistent carries. He might be a premier running back in this league. And if we go into this game, already thinking that this game is won on the defensive side and that Brian Flores is going to make Dylan Gabriel, look crazy and they should start Flacco because he's a veteran, stuff like that. I just want to ask you guys the question: what's going to be the excuse if Dylan Gabriel and his offense gets the job done against Brian Flores' defense? I don't want to hear about the injuries. I don't want to hear about, oh, they got lucky, but this will actually be, you know, the the third game where the defense did not perform. And we have to be honest about that. Like, that's what I'm saying. Like, we got to get away from just looking at, the stats that's online or the EPA or whatever PFF is giving us. I just look at defense from a different point of view of that. Hey, if your defense is having to play long drives, that's keeping your offense off the field. And just like I said earlier in this video, on this channel, I'm completely honest. I talk about both sides of the ball. I give both coaches fair critique on what I feel is going on. And I'm just saying, like, we got to stop saying this defense is all world and it's great when offenses are basically driving down the field on us and getting what they want. And then people can say, like, oh, well, we're not giving up a lot of touchdowns and it's a lot of field goals, but you can never get that time that offense took off the clock back. So that's all I got, for the defense. So let's let's keep it moving because I kind of merged the game plans and how I felt about it, going forward. But let's talk about my closing thoughts, man, because I just came here to do a quick video for you guys to kind of give you guys, my perspective on what I felt the Vikings should do, this game. Now, you guys follow me on social media and you've been tuning into this channel. You guys know I'm extremely vocal about everything about this team. And I just feel like at the end of the day, as fans, we kind of all want the same end goal. And that end goal is our favorite team, the Minnesota Vikings, actually going to the Super Bowl and winning it. And I feel like some of the things get lost in conversation, and you got, people online that's like going at other people, going at other fans, other creators. And I just feel like sometimes it gets overblown, especially when the team is not doing good and is actually losing. And I just feel like we all, at the end of the day, we all want the same goal. And for me, it's interesting for me to hear different perspectives on how to, you know, get to get to that end goal. And I just feel like it seems like the sky is falling, a lot. But I just have to be honest, and I just got to tell you guys my truths. If the Vikings don't somehow come out this game victorious, and you don't see any kind of progress with this team, and the defensive side of the ball takes another step back, and the offense can't get anything together, then maybe the sky is falling. Maybe we do have some problems, and I just feel like this bye week may come at a perfect time for this team to actually transition to kind of do something else. And it's crazy because when the season schedule comes out, you look at the bye early in the season, you're like, damn, why we got to get so early? And I'm thinking like right now, like shit, that might be a benefit because there's a lot of things that this team need to actually get right before going into a stretch where you have to play, perennial playoff teams. So that's my closing thoughts. I mean, at the end of the day, I want this team to win. This is probably the first game day preview that I didn't give an actual score prediction because I'm kind of torn, man. I'm kind of torn in between. I don't necessarily like what I've been seeing on the field on both sides of the ball. And hey, Carson Wentz is the backup, and I think the discussion about who should be the quarterback going forward I think we kind of all know what the answer is right now. And just like I said, beginning of the season, when we had our first game and against Chicago when JJ McCarthy started, this game is going to answer a lot of questions, right? Every game answers a lot of questions. I mean, can the Minnesota Vikings figure out what to do with their duct tape of an offensive line? Can the defense, actually be consistent in their dominance against multiple teams and basically stopping the run? I mean, we gonna see. But that's all I got for y'all, and I'm gonna get up out of here because I gotta do some stuff, around the house. And I am going to be live later today, with my boy Zoe from In the Zone podcast. And well, let's take that back. It's not no longer In the Zone podcast. Zoe from In the Zone Sports. And actually, I think a couple of people gonna tap in with them. I think Mike Sports Vibes will be on a live. So watching this video, thank you for tuning in. I'll be live later today. I think the time we're doing it about 6 o'clock Eastern time. So just look out for it. And you guys know how I always end my videos.